Good afternoon and welcome to Jolly Live here on CEMTV. I am Emmanuel Tamino Tenari, but you can call me Tammy for short. Of course, normally I'd be running with my co-anchor, my co-host, my co-everything, my, number two. I would have said my ride or die, but, I don't want to raise some kind of controversies. But, things happen, she's the weather oracle, so she needs to be under the weather to observe it. You understand, Also, we need to apologize for, that little discrepancy in our coming on air. We had to make sure everything was. Didn't you enjoy what you just saw? One more step for Jolly Life, a greater step for mankind. As far as I'm concerned, as we get better, it is an improvement on the mark of mankind. Like I said earlier, this still is Jolly Live here on CEMTV, and I am Emmanuel Tamino Tenari, but you can call me Tammy for short. Now, what we're going to talk about today is quite controversial, or at least I think it is quite controversial, and it's just something that has to do with a lot of religious backtalk, a lot of, what some people believe to be deception, a lot of what a lot of people have also said to be a complete misconception and mistranslation. So, if you want to find out what that is, don't go anywhere, because of course it's Jolly Life. We need to feel good, we need to get the vibe, we need to get the mood. So, before I bring to you what we're talking about today, we're going to go on a very short, when I say very short, because I really want to dance. I want you to dance, to enjoy music. So we're going to go on a short music break. When we come back, I hit you straight in your face with the topic, and then we enjoy ourselves. Remember to follow us on all social media platforms, so you can keep in touch. It is displayed on your screen. It'll be there even after I'm gone on this break. And when we come back, by then you probably would have, been prepared, and you can drop your thoughts on our social media platforms. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
This is CEMTV, reliable news and entertainment.
Is it time? I can't wait to see it.
Voice of the people, stories that matter.
Oh wow!
Truth in every moment, now and forever. Across every border, across every land, we form, we empower, together we stand. From Africa to the world, connecting every voice.
What's on your mind today?
The goal by Victor Osimhen was amazing.
The economy. Isn't that what's on everybody's mind?
I would like to see more women in positions of authority. If you heard and saw it from CEMTV, you can take it to the bank. CEMTV, your reliable source of news, information, and entertainment.
This is CEMTV, reliable news and entertainment.
Welcome back to Jolly Life here on CEMTV. I remain Emmanuel Tamuno Tenari, but you can call me Tammy for short. Of course, like I said, today we're going to be talking about something controversial, something that has been, causing a divide between a lot of individuals, both Christian and non-Christian alike. So, there's this pastor, that in one of his sermons that was posted online, he said something. And what he said was, quite inflammatory. He basically said that a very famous hero that everyone knows, everyone loves, Superman. If I were to go by the normal vocabulary, I'm supposed to say Superman. But Superman, that's who we sabi am. Superman. He says Superman is a fallen angel. That's Pastor Emmanuel Irem. In one of his sermons, he talked about how, Superman is a fallen angel. He's basically a rendition of a demon because creators were like, oh, demons, how can we make people celebrate demons? How can we make people see demons on TV and celebrate? And they decided to whitewash the story of Superman, and so that when we celebrate Superman, we are celebrating Satan. Hey. I thought we have gone beyond this particular point of associating fiction with religion. I thought we've gone beyond the point of using a religious lens to judge every and anything. There was a point in time when they said the television was the devil's box. There was a point in time when every technological advancement was seen as Satan's invention. 5G was seen as the mark of the beast. I thought we had gone beyond that point. But right now, it appears that, that is not the case. I'll allow you to watch that sermon for yourself.
Superman is actually a fallen angel. You don't like Shango, but you like Thor. You see, they have caught you, have you? Storytelling has successfully made some of you fans of demons without knowing it. I'll give you a simple example. Those of you who are fans of superheroes, what is the real name of Superman? Spoiler, I'm going to spoil some things for you. Yeah. Kal-El, right? Mention the names of the angels that you know. Hold on. Gabriel? Michael? Hold on. We're headed somewhere. I wish I was joking. This is not a joke. So his name is Kal-El. And angels are called Gabriel, Michael. Angels typically have L at the back of their name. And how does the story of Superman start? He falls to the ground, right? I hate to break it to you that Superman is actually a fallen angel. And angels in the Bible have superhuman strength. If angels walked amongst us, they'll be able to do everything that Superman does and more. So now, somebody thought about this, that there is no way we can get these people to be fans of demons. So here is what we're going to do. We're going to whitewash the story with good storytelling, and they'll be cheering.
You see, some people may hear this and they're like, he's actually making some valid points. I didn't think of it like that. He said, Superman has extraordinary strength. and everything Superman does is what a fallen angel will be able to do. I'm not going to dispute that. But at the same time, Superman is what is called a Kryptonian. And I don't know how you want to relate it to the Bible, but you also need to add the full context. You can't, split and cut and dice everything and take only one aspect that fits your narrative. What about the part where he's an alien, not an angel? What about the part where he has a backstory? He has a father, he has a mother. He comes from a planet that was destroyed because his people were neglecting it. Not because they rebelled against anything, not because of any specific reason, but because his father, who is a scientist, warned the other people that, look, this planet is unstable. If we keep our technological advancement at the speed it's going, this planet will fail. That is Superman's backstory. He didn't just fall to the ground. He didn't fall from heaven. He came from a different planet, light years away, and that planet was destroyed because of scientific reasons. Superman is a living, what some people would call a living solar battery. He gets his power. Superman doesn't get his power because of some divine or supernatural means. No, it's biological means. His story was written in a way that he gets his powers via specific methods, and if those specific methods are altered, he will lose his powers. He gets his powers from yellow sunlight. If you expose him to red sunlight, he loses his powers. If you expose him to blue sunlight, is a completely different matter altogether. You expose him to golden sunlight, is a completely different case. So you can't just nitpick and take few things that you think may align and then throw it out there and say that that is the case. Now, when it comes to his name, Kal-El, I do agree, because the creators of Superman, I think Jerry Spiegel, if I'm remembering that correctly, Jerry Siegel rather, and Joe Shuster. Yeah, pronouncing their name, I think they are, Jewish people. So I guess I can understand why they named him Kal-El. But it has nothing to do with religion. He made another statement. He was like, you don't like Shango, but you like Thor. Let's look at it this way. If we look at every single thing from the lens of religion, how many things would actually be holy? And if we're looking at everything from the lens of religion, how many religions exist in the world? There are religions that would tell you that if you eat meat, God has forsaken you. There are religions that will tell you that if you don't pray every day, God has forsaken you. There are religions that will tell you that if you marry a woman or you have conjugal activities with a woman, God has forsaken you. So if we are now looking at every single thing from the lens of religion, what would be holy enough? You see, life exists in different stratas as far as I'm concerned. You have your personal life, you have your spiritual life, you have your secular life, you have your work life, you have your party life. The people you meet in the party, you do not relate with them the same way you relate with people at work. The people you relate with at work, it's not the same way you relate with the people at home. Even at work, there are names your work people, your colleagues would call you. They don't call you that at home. There are names that if you hear it at work, you'll be like, the only way someone can call me this name is if they heard it from a parent or they heard it from a loved one at home. So even the name you give at work is not the name you are called at home. The way you behave at home is not the way you behave at work. If you're good at your work, you're productive, you're turning over results, but at home you're lazy. But every single time you come to work, you deliver. Should one judge you from your work or should one judge you from your home? If they judge you from your home, but they go to your work life and they say, but he's so productive, he's giving results, he has never done this, he has never done that, But when you go home, he doesn't want to wash plate, he doesn't want to do this, he doesn't want to do that. Or when he comes to work, oh, she's not productive. When she comes to work, oh, she's not productive at work. She's this, she's that. But once she goes home, no, she's always good, though. She's the one that's always washing the plate, she's always cooking, she's always doing that, she's always doing this, she's always doing that. So you can't necessarily judge life through one lens and say, oh, because looking at it from this lens, it sort of makes sense in this particular manner, henceforth that is what it is. No, I can as well create a character, and someone will say, oh, this your character you created has red skin. The devil is usually portrayed as a dragon with red skin, so this your character is inspired by the devil. I could as well create a beautiful man in a story, and they said that the devil was the most beautiful man and he was created. He was the scale of beauty. So your character is related to the devil. How far is too far when it comes to, pop culture and spiritual mythos? Can't we have a situation where they are kept apart? Because even in our everyday life, your church life is not your home life. Your home life is not your work life. Your work life is not your, secular life. People know you in different ways. So why would you want to use one particular lens to judge everything? A lot of people gave their reactions on X, and they had a lot to say, and to be honest with you, many of them also, unfortunately, what could I say, for the pastor, shared the thought that this makes no sense. Real Vibe says Superman is an imagination of a human being like yourself that dared to explore. Stop deceiving people. Now, Faithful Chinazo said, WTF, when these guys start well and they have the crowd and following, they begin spewing rubbish from their mouths. What concerns us if Superman is a fallen angel or not? Or what concerns the body of Christ with that? Why not concentrate on the Bible? Now, Omiola says, make una dey calm down, no. Una dey overthink this Bible interpretation thing, no. Dopamine says, it's simple fiction, just like most movies, novels and cartoons people watch and read. Yet these guys would stand on their podium and spew trash, and gullible people who have lost the ability to think for themselves would take it hook, line and sinker. And the Rookie says, all them, these ones, going by this logic, so Jesus na bread bender. Fellow says, OMG WTF, that's why I don't listen to disgusting messages like these, because you'll only get more confused. Are they reading their Bibles upside down? And Aniete says, Angel Lucifer, that latter became Satan, and he does not have an L at the end of his name. Vulnerable believers, try think outside the box before you start believing it. I know it's your daddy that preach it. And I really love that last, what's it called? I love that last comment. It said, Lucifer, he does not have an L at the end of his name. And his name basically translates to, I believe, light bringer, bringer of lights, son of the morning. There are several translations depending on how you want to read it. But his name has no L. And of course, in the Bible, the angels that were referred to, Gabriel, Michael, their names end in L. And their names have meanings, actual meanings. I believe Michael was who is like God. I've forgotten specifically what Gabriel translates to, but Michael is who is like God. If you try to make a translation of Kal-El, there is no meaning. There is no meaning whatsoever. And the L is basically Elohim. It's like a short form of the word Elohim. And Elohim basically means the spiritual one or the spiritual ones. So someone can be inspired by something. Someone can want to create a fictional body of work based off of their inspiration. I can decide to want to create a savior figure because I was inspired by the story of Jesus. I can decide to want to create a story like that. And because I was inspired by this story, it doesn't mean that you can even judge my story based off of the lens of what it was inspired by. A lot of artists, Wizkid, Davido, Burna Boy, they have artists that inspired them. I believe Wizkid at some point said Fela, was his progenitor. He's inspired by Fela's music. But at the same time, you can't judge Wizkid's music from Fela's music. You can't. Because he was inspired by that thing doesn't mean that he is or his work solely depends on looking through the lens of what he is inspired by. And I'm just using this inspiration as an example because the story of Superman is in no way inspired by the Bible. In no way whatsoever. Joe Shuster, Jerry Spiegel, they have both been interviewed several times. Even a lot of researchers and, what do they call them? Basically, a lot of researchers, that's the word I'll use, they have likened his story to that of Moses. Keep in mind, this is not by the authors themselves or the creators themselves. They did not liken his story to Moses. They did not say they were inspired by this, they were inspired by that. No. Other people, because of course he is someone that escaped the destruction of his people on a ship and was, picked up by someone and raised to be a better man, is basically the story of Moses. That's the closest thing that anyone has been able to piece together to be a relation to the story of Superman and the Bible. And then, like one of the comments said, we would have gullible and vulnerable Nigerian Christians taking this story as fact. You see parents going home and they see the child watching Superman and they'll be like, stop watching that demonic thing. I know I grew up with being told to not watch a lot of cartoons because they're quote and unquote it's demonic. You can see this is the one that says it's simply fiction. Movies and novels like this, it's what people read. Yet these guys will stand on their podium to deceive gullible Nigerians. It is simply fiction. That's all it is. Now let's take what he's saying as fact. That we should look at the lens or look through the lens of Christianity to create fictional characters. How then should fictional characters from now on be written? I think he said something like that. And we have another video of him saying, how he thinks, characters that have supernatural abilities should be written or at least be inspired from. Here's that video.
And for the Christian creatives around us, this is a challenge to you because understand this. Some had to rely on either just literal fiction to tell us stories, fun stories about superheroes, or they had to draw from satanic textbooks. I was teasing you on Wednesday. You don't like Shango, but you like Thor. That's storytelling there. That's storytelling. You see, they have caught you, have you? What is the difference? If someone made a good movie about Samson, I'm going to watch it. And he's going to look like a superhero of the mighty men of David. Are you getting what I'm saying? All the benders, we have them in the Bible. Fire bender, Elijah. Water bender, Moses. All of them. All of them. All of them. And so Christmas has been a victim of storytelling. And somehow we've made it about a man in a red suit who clearly has not been going to the gym.
I would dare say that he actually missed two elements there. He only talked about water and fire. What about earth and air? And I would want to include that. I believe Jesus was, one of the airbenders because when there was a storm, the winds were heavy. All he said was, peace, be still. And they said the wind stopped. And they said, who is this man that the storms obey him, that the winds, obey him? So I think he was an airbender. And when it comes to earthbenders, I would say Moses. I believe Moses would be a very valid airbender because was it the story of, I've forgotten who it was, that deceived him, and he cursed them and the ground opened and swallowed them. So I believe Moses would be a good contender for an earthbender. But also, like he said, indeed, if you write some, Bible characters into movies, they will look like superheroes. I mean, sure, Samson would look like a superhero. Elijah would look like a superhero. Elijah was able to run and outrun a carriage, a king's carriage, which of course has some of the best, fastest and well-conditioned horses. He outran them, got to the kingdom. Jesus broke bread. Jesus turned water into wine. Jesus resurrected from the dead. These are things that could be considered superheroes. But at the same time, does that mean that we should then limit our imagination to only what the Bible dictates? That's the question. Does that mean that if our imagination does not align with the Bible in the way you think is correct, that then, only then, would it be considered demonic? But if we are writing a story and it is aligned with the Bible, it is fine, it's good to go. An important thing to note is that not everybody is Christian. Not everybody believes in God. Not everybody believes in Jesus Christ. And some people have very, very powerful imaginations. They can create worlds in their head. Worlds with completely different sets of laws, rules, and characters. History. That have nothing to do with any religion. Or may have something to do with certain religions. Because even in the same Superman story, DC has God. Yes. DC has a character called God. The one above, not the one above, well, the presence. DC has Lucifer. DC has Michael. DC has Gabriel. And the story of these characters, it is in no way aligning with the Bible because there is no Jesus in DC. Would you then say because they made reference to biblical figures but the story does not follow the main source material that it is then demonic? These are people taking inspiration from another literary work to create one of their own. So honestly speaking, I think it's about time we round up. But honestly speaking, I think that if we begin to limit everyone's imagination based on religion, aren't we creating drones? Aren't we creating robots? Aren't we creating, even artificial intelligence would be a far, freer thinker than people that limit their imagination based off only one source material. I don't think it's the right way to go. And I don't think preaching that people should limit their imagination based off of one source material and anything outside of that is demonic and should be condemned is right. That's the most we can take here on Jolly Life. I hope you've been able to, pick some one or two things because I know I've had, a good time with you. We'll have Jolly Life tomorrow. And guess what? Tomorrow is T, G, I, and F. Thank God it's Friday. Hey, the last Monday you saw our TGIF now. You saw the flexing, you saw the chopping, you saw the drinking, you saw the dancing. It happen tomorrow again. And after we do Jolly Life, we'll go and enjoy that one. And when we meet you again on Monday, we'll now come and show you how we enjoyed ourselves. So you too, try to enjoy yourself. It is the weekend. You've done enough. You've tried. It is Monday to Thursday. You've gone to work. You've come back. You've gone to work. You've come back. You've fed yourself, fed your family. You've done well for yourself. Enjoy the weekend. I'm Emmanuel Tamuno Tenari, but you can call me Tammy for short. And with this, I bid you adieu. We'll see you tomorrow, still on Jolly Life.